Decide to record. Here we go. Hello, everybody, to this week's pairing session. It's the 15th of July, and we are kind of picking up where we stopped last week. So for everybody who has not been around, to quickly try to show you what I'm currently trying to fix. I'll be showing this on my branch, but on GitLab.com or in the main branch currently, if you will be responding to a command in any issue or merge request, and you're going to be interacting with this menu, which is the add who menu, which is the library that is actually rendering this thing, and you want to leave this menu by hitting your escape key, which I will do now for once. This will close it, and if I now hit the escape key one more time, this model will appear asking me if I really want to do this or continue editing. On production, this is currently not working, and not working means if you hit the escape key once, the add who model will be closed, and the continue editing model will be shown as well, which basically leads to a lot of frustration of users just hitting the add button because you want to mention somebody, then you don't. You're going to be hitting the escape key, and you'll be ending up in here, which is where you didn't want to go. So this is what I'm currently fixing. I was hoping for an easier fix, but it is fair to say that we are dealing with some legacy code base over here. So this is what is rendering this menu is jQuery library that we forked many moons ago, and that we're still dependent on. With the current solution I'm looking at, I did not, the current solution does not require any changes to the library, and I'm knocking on wood that this will be this way, because I'm definitely not keen on touching it. So all of the changes we'll be looking at are in our main repository. So very quickly, what this thing is doing, the GFM autocomplete is basically the file. Let me show you this in my editor. It's basically the file where the key event listeners that will actually then pop up the model. What do I search for? Add to? No, not quite.
Salute.
Yeah, there we go. What was that?
You said add to. I said salute.
Nice one. So this is basically the function call to the jQuery library, and this is where the event gets initialized, the key listener. So far so good. What we figured out in the last session is that the jQuery library is actually smart enough that it will fire two events, which is going to be a hidden event and a shown event. And so this was working perfectly fine for the emoji, model. But it turns out it was not for all of the others. Paul, have you seen the video I put in the channel? That took me about half a day to discover, because I just couldn't figure out why it would not work for any other. And it turns out there is a thing you can give. It is an alias. I haven't looked into it too deeply why we are giving those kind of functions or why we are passing aliases. I know that these are also used to kind of identify our tests. So one more thing that I am not keen on touching. But as I figured that whenever you're gonna be giving this thing an alias, the event name, the library will actually fire will change, and it will change to. Let me quickly find it. Yep, it will change from hidden.atto to hidden-alias.atto, which unfortunately is not documented anywhere. At least I couldn't find it. So that was a lucky shot to figure that out. But glad we're having it. So where I'm currently at, or where are my questions? The good thing is this is all working as expected now. the escape key does what it should for kind of all the instances. So my two open questions on this are, as I figured, so for the CE version of this, all is perfectly fine. I came up with some tests. This is super hard to kind of unit test against because of the interaction between those two. But integration tests are actually doing this pretty good. Super keen on hearing your feedback about, but this is what I thought about how to best test this. Like this is a test for if the model actually appears, like the continue editing model, and this iterates through all of the key symbols and is then hitting the escape key or fake hitting the escape key, and then making sure that this model is not rendered. So that should be good to go. So fun part of this, or the open part, is we do have this file does have an EE version as well, and the EE version includes the keyword, the ampersand for epics and vulnerability. Manually testing this. This is code-wise, this is covered. Everything's working, all is fine. The problem with the unit test I came up for, or the integration test I came up for the EE version, is that I am basically doing the exact same thing in EE. I am stubbing the licensed feature epics true. First problem I'm having here, it kind of doesn't make sense that this feature is called epics, but this is just a guess from my side at this point. And if I run this test with the WebDriver enabled and a debugger, so as we can see here, this is actually what is happening in the test. EE : would open really nicely. If I hit an ampersand, there's just no menu opening up. So that is kind of my main problem. How do I get this thing to render in here? That was a long introduction. Thanks for staying with me in this.
I'm impressed with how prepared you were. You
Yeah.
only have the GDK started, but I also have this live debug of this test already open. It's like, wow, this is the least amount of waiting.
There we go.
So you said the ampersand, the epics drop down is broken? Like that, was it broken by this MR, or has it always been broken?
No, it's just broken when I kind of run it in the EE test suite.
In the test environment. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that it has to do with either it doesn't have any epics, or the feature isn't the right feature, or there's more features.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So when I'm looking at the way these tests are done, these are really, really good tests. But feature specs are expensive. And so doing the feature spec for all the permutations, do really need to do that? That's the question.
It surely is not fast, that's for sure. Like, this will not speed up our pipeline.
Is there any way we can, are there any unit tests covering these EE or any these GFM autocompletes? Are there any unit tests there?
Let me double check. I really hope, I would say so. Like, this file is way too big to not have anything.
Well, sometimes they're too big to have tests.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. So just for you, like this file, oh, it's not too bad actually. EE is pretty small. So yeah, these are the existing unit tests on the left.
So like, I would be fine. I'd love to hear what Anna and Chad and Yannick, what you think. I'd be fine if we had like just a couple of the feature spec permutations, but then this unit test level, let's just mock out that function and just assert that it was called. Just assert that we added that set up the on-off listeners for these functions. Does that make sense?
I lost you on the unit test part. Like, I get what you're saying with assert, but if we don't have the integration test, then where or why would I assert this?
So if you go to set up autocomplete epics,
I mean
on the right-hand side. Did we add any lines of code to this function to set up autocomplete epics?
No. No, the only thing we added, I can probably best show you this in the diff. I refactored this in the current version of it quite a bit, but the setup like this, I refactored this to use the CE one, so never mind this, but the setup lifecycle method. This is basically everything it does, or everything that was added to it.
Set input, each input has class initials show. What calls the setup lifecycle? Or when does it get called?
It gets called because we are dealing here, and I haven't been touching stuff like this for a while. But with good old class architecture, so the EU version just extends this one, and there is, so it's actually going to be called in here.
Setup life cycle. We take input.
Yep. So this will be overridden, and this then calls the super.
Oh wow! Look at that on line 149 and stuff.
Yeah. So we are already dealing with all kinds of eventlessness for this.
Okay, but those events though, we set up and then we show and hide helper. What calls like setup at who? On like 161. Oh, on off focus on.
Yep.
So on some sort of focus, we'll set all that stuff up. 149 is really interesting because you saw that there were aliases being attached, which changed the names of these events. But 149, we're not worrying about aliases. Isn't that weird?
It sure is.
I'm not gonna pretend that I know why.
But I'm with you. It would be interesting to investigate if it will be change.attu or change-alias.attu. That's the direction you're coming from, right?
Yeah.
How extensive are the non-EE unit tests for this one?
Let me see. Oops.
Oh man, do we only have EE?
Here we are. Putting them to the right. So this is the CE version on the left and the tests on the right. I would say they're probably decent. Like, to be fair, this is quite a not necessarily a crucial feature, but a feature that is used at many places in our application. But yeah, a lot of tests.
So I don't know. I'm gonna go out on a limb, and given that it's jQuery and legacy and sort of crazy, I kind of feel that at least one EE integration test is justified.
That's a good point.
Okay.
And that it's used so extensively.
Having at least one makes sense. Can we go back to something that jumped out at me? Besides looking at these specs, which we can get running, I'm not super concerned about that. The show and hide helper, that's what you added.
Mhm. Yep.
What calls that?
That will be called in the setup something. Let me see. Like that was in the function that we just looked at that had all the event listeners in there. Here you go, setup lifecycle.
And aliases is a collection of all the aliases.
Exactly, aliases. I defined them as constants above here. So we get a single source of truth, and there is also an undefined in here, which is representing the default event.
Right. Okay. So my concern with this is that for every input, we will be adding event listeners for every alias. Is that how we want to do it? Is the input? Well, I guess that's right though, because
yeah, I think we'll be only adding them once per load. That will be my expectation. If not, we're speaking about a bug, but that's what I'm like. This method will only be called once per page load. We wanna if we load it, we want to register all of the event listeners for all of the aliases, because you need all those key signals to be ready.
Yeah, I wish we could. I wish we could justify getting rid of the aliases, but I'm concerned that they're necessary. That makes sense. This makes sense. The only other thing I would say is you do when we do set up the inputs, we do set them up conditionally. You see, like there's the enable map.
What is
on 162?
How's the enable map working? I haven't really looked into this.
Well, I don't know, but
default autocomplete config. So where is this coming from?
Enable
Here
map,
we go.
like it's
it's another constant.
Or it's actually not necessarily a constant. It's an instance variable. It defaults to that, but
that's right.
The thing being, when we call setup, if you go up to our setup hide and show, I think we'll want to reconcile the aliases with the enabled map, ideally. I mean, I guess technically there's no harm in just adding extra event listeners. And what do you think? What do you think, Anna or Chad? Like, do you think we should trim the list of aliases based on what's actually enabled, or do you think, hey, it's fine adding all the event listeners?
I mean,
how does it get enabled?
That's a good question. I think something that's calling this provides.
This is the default. Yeah. Sorry. This is the default list, and you could, like, this is a default param, so you could just pass in something else and setting those to true, but by default they're all set to true.
And
so you couldn't change it after the page loaded? So I think it makes sense to enable it only for the enabled list.
Mhm.
So to have when we're setting up the event listeners, should we respect the enabled list? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You bring up the scary. I'm hoping that it doesn't change after page load, because I'm pretty sure we're not. None of this is reactive as one would hope. But that would be ideal. Yeah,
Mm.
I think so.
What's your take on this, chat? I'll be coming with my opinion later on.
Oh no, chat's frozen.
Oh no. Okay.
It's gone.
You scared him away. I'm afraid. Anyhow, yeah, we can do it like this. There was one tiny bit which I'm not a particular fan of, and it might be ridiculous, but the thing is, this will add more complexity to the show and hide helper function, given that we don't really have a chance or opportunity to test this thing. I feel a little mixed about making this more complicated. But
I mean, you're exporting this function. We can unit test this function.
fair enough. We absolutely could. Okay, yeah, sweet. Let's keep that in mind. That's a good point.
And with this legacy code, I mean, the intent is to harden the code as much as possible.
Mhm.
So I really like the feature specs. That's a really great thing that we've done. I think it's worth unit testing this function that we're exporting. Yeah. So when we given the challenge here is that this function doesn't have access to that instance variable, the enabled map.
We can quite easily pass it, can we?
So we could just pass it through. Or what if whatever calls this function, we have a function that's something like get enabled aliases, and we just use that as the second argument to show and hide helper. That way we don't really have to change show and hide helper. It's just whatever the aliases are. Show and hide helper doesn't have to worry about that. Rather than having one big function, you have two smaller functions.
I'm kind of leaning towards the passing through, since we don't have too many skips. But if that's a no for you, then you're okay with that?
I think I'm fine. As long as it stays simple. We don't have to pass it to setup lifecycle, because it's the instance variable in the class. So we can just do.
Fair point. We can just access it. Basically, this is all we need to do, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, I haven't touched classes in a long time, but good stuff.
So if we were gonna do that,
Mhm.
this isn't gonna be your favorite thing. If we were gonna do that, we would potentially, instead of having an array of aliases on line 25, hey James, we would have an object of aliases from the enable key to the alias.
But where would we do the matching in this function, correct?
Yeah. But then
Okay.
the map doesn't. We're not guaranteed that the enable map keys match the alias values, right? So we'll need to map them, but they might actually end up being the same. I don't know.
They're definitely not. Like I just checked. There's members and there's users, which is the same thing. So they
They
probably.
should be the same, but I don't want to touch this code.
Yeah. We would have to change the aliases, and I'm not a fan of this. Very much not a fan.
Yeah, because I don't know where they're all going to be referenced.
Yeah. So let's probably better stick with different naming then.
So we get a map of what is enabled, but those keys don't map to the aliases yet. So we need somehow to map the enable keys.
Okay, how would we do that?
So I think
Data mangling.
I have some thoughts, but I'm going to pause because I don't want to.
I'll definitely be having a hard time doing this on my own. So what are we having? Let me lock this. That'll be much easier.
Oh gosh, do we really need the aliases? I don't think. Do you think we do? I think we probably do.
What I can tell you is that I don't know if we really need them, but what I know is when we remove them, it will break a bunch of tests.
Wow.
That
did you try removing them?
No, I didn't try removing them, but what I checked is when I've been searching for those aliases, I did get a lot of matches in air specs. So I expect.
My question is, like, the aliases thing is like a performance optimization. It's like unrelated to the actual problem we started with, which was how to test this in an integration test in EE.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we're getting sidetracked with the performance optimization that probably doesn't even belong in this MR. Apologies, Paul.
Well, I think let's yes, we can fix the test in EE. I'm not concerned about that. I feel like that's
I mean, the performance like having too many events is a concern, but it's not a concern for this bug.
That's true.
And fair point. Like, yeah. Full stop.
Can I throw one more thought at you, Yannick?
Please.
And everybody else, and feel free to be like, Paul, just stop trying to optimize. So one of the reasons that makes this challenging is we have to know all of the aliases ahead of time, and we're setting them all these events ahead of time. But as we read down the code, we see that conditionally we don't set up some things. And so all of that knowledge we have to know ahead of time if we're going to do this ahead of time. The other idea is rather than having one function that shows and sets up the show hide helper for everything, we call this function for each one of those individual setups, and we pass the alias that's needed there. Do you know what I mean?
I do, and that would probably solve a lot of the problems we're currently speaking about quite elegantly. Thanks for sharing this. What if we don't have one function to set it up, but call one?
That was beautifully put. Okay.
More or less, yeah.
Let's the backender wants to go to Ruby land. That's good.
That's good. I'm taking this away with me. I'll think about this. Maybe this will make things better. Okay, so let's go back to the EE spec of this. So if I understood you correctly, what you said, Chad, is like this justifies for an EE test, and I do agree. But for the sake of performance, once more, there's probably no need to test it for all of the occurrences, is there?
Agreed. Like I'm saying test the existence of this file and then extends and like whatever that weird comment about the top about the exports and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, just make sure at least the EE version works.
Okay, but it would be good enough if you only test for epics in here.
Yeah, like if you look at the original or at the EE version of it, I think
Mm,
not the spec, but the code.
that would be it.
Like line 12 and that comment about line 12, like that whatever that's doing, like it would be nice to have an integration test for stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Weird things.
Okay, so we are back to our very initial problem, and that is basically the ampersand in here is doing nothing.
Yep. Let's see. Do we use the ampersand thing for? Are there any other existing tests for this?
Not to my knowledge.
Probably not. But we definitely want to look up where we're creating. I would try to find another test where we create epics, because that's what we'll need to do.
Yep. So I would probably. How do we feel about searching for this?
It'd be like let colon epic thing,
Yeah, fair point.
but it's got a parentheses there. Yeah.
Is this what you're referring to?
Yes.
Maybe this line could solve a lot.
That line's gonna solve
the-
all the problems.
Should we just rerun it because it will take a second?
Where
Um,
do you have a group being set up in that spec?
Mm,
No.
no.
And that might
Doesn't
be too, is we-
Epic need a group?
Yes. Yeah. Epics
Okay.
are group things. And so we probably want the project to be under the group as well.
Mm,
Oh, like that.
so just like that, correct?
I think like that, or is this there's the namespace?
Help me out with the
Yeah,
namespace.
you can do that. It says that on the left hand side. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay, sweet. I'll give it a shot. Let's see how far we can take it. Running the.
Sorry, I keep dropping. My internet went out and then my hotspot went out.
Man,
Oh no.
man.
Okay, test is running.
Did it already open up that? Is that browser tab? Is that from the test?
Yeah, but that is the old one. Let me close it now,
Okay.
so we don't get confused about it.
I was trying to look at this and find like a flag that enables epics, and like it looks like, or the feature capability is called epics, but it doesn't appear to be enabled anywhere, which makes me think like maybe all of the EE stuff is just enabled somewhere in the helper, during the entire EE suite.
Great question.
Which makes me,
the license
I don't
fee-
know if I missed anything, but leads me back to Paul's thought that maybe there's just no epics that exist to be shown.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm
So
having.
sorry if y'all talked about that while I was dropped.
Oh no, you're good.
I'm having a good feeling with this.
Oh my gosh, I have that shirt. You're right. All right, we've got to go, bro. Say bye bye. I do. Say bye bye.
You have this shirt, Paul?
Yeah. We screwed something up. Because the source branch margin is missing from project. Wait, what?
Uh-oh. I think we super broke it.
So we are creating a group. The group is then public. This is looking. Oh, it even closed, even though it's on binding prior. What does the console say? Well,
Oh wait, is this the Webpack thing? This is. This is the what? Is this the Webpack thing?
I don't think so, because let me double check that. Oh, we need to speak about this as well, because I haven't this should be in place. Like the Webpack patch currently. So this is
Okay.
yep. So that should be okay. So I think there is something wrong within those couple of lines.
Did we not? Did we? We didn't break anything in the touching the JavaScript files we just touched.
Mm, if we would, I would really expect a different error, because what we just saw on the browser was basically like it couldn't render an MR, and you're not going to be breaking this with the GFM autocomplete file.
Or are you?
I would like, I'm happy to git stash and rerun this, but I would be super surprised, even like, because the error message we're just getting, like, this was kind of backend generated, so you're not.
Did we potentially find a bug?
I think we just screwed up our setup.
I mean, we're in feature spec land, so
Mhm.
setup.
I feel like we can, let's quickly look into this. I feel like we are setting up a scenario that can't that is causing some issues. So we are creating a group which is public, project group, so that should be okay. Merge request, looking good to me. Let me.
You'll need to do let exclamation mark or let it be for the epic.
Do I? Okay.
Because otherwise the things are only lazily initialized when you reference them, and we don't actually reference the epic.
Today I don't. Okay, so just like I did, this should be fine.
That should be fine.
Okay, let's give it a shot.
No, that was weird.
What was weird? The error we've been seeing?
The error, that state, I hadn't seen that before. That was weird.
Let's see if we can reproduce. Make sure to make a screenshot this time. While this is loading, Paul, another one for you. Like what we've been encountering in a last pairing session regarding the asynchronous, like we need to speak about what has. I didn't fully understand the issue you filed regarding the missing things in the Git diff, and
I didn't understand it. Understand it. I didn't understand.
This is wild, but my main question is easier. Like, is this now fixed on our main branch?
It is. It was just
okay
on 14.9, and so once it changed the way we did merges, which as a side effect fixed that issue, and it was really edge case issue, but it resulted in data loss. What is this? Wait. Oh, okay. We haven't initialized the repository. That's it. Yes.
You're moving too fast.
Discovered a bug. I'm back in the RSpec. We have to create the project and then do like : repository or something. So we have project group, but we also have to do like repository. If you go back to before we made our change, you'll see that you probably had repository and we removed it with group accidentally.
Let's see. That should be in here then.
So again, I kept dropping. You might just want to look at an existing spec, like, Epic's issue spec, like one that's got to be working with Epic's currently, and look at its setup.
Project repository.
Yeah, it says a flag you got to pass to the factory, and so this way, right now we just created an empty project, so we actually want to create one with a repository. Yep.
So, but it goes before or after?
It doesn't matter. Order doesn't matter. They're just flagged.
Okay, so it's just like that.
Yep.
Sweet.
That should do it.
Okay, yeah, you can't have an MR without a repository. That kind of makes sense though.
Yeah, that does make sense.
So yeah.
Yeah, project public repositories. The other ones have that.
Yeah, going back to the Git bug. I don't know, implementation trick, whatever it was, but I have to admit it scared me a little. Like the issue description you put in there, which basically said there was an MR and there were changes in there which are not shown in the diff. You'd be like, well, if there's one thing we really want to get right, that's probably.
So what the conclusion was that the diff was correct, but our merging logic was wrong. And the way we were doing a merge, actually, because somehow in there was like a revert of something unrelated in master. This contributor was like trying to fix their branch. And when we did the merge, it just kept this revert of these files. So from the diff, it looks like merging is just going to change some typos, but when you actually merged, it merged reverting some files.
Yeah, I looked at the links to the Stack Overflow stuff that Stan linked, and there's like cases where Git, where it doesn't know what the parent is, and the merge just it can't get it right if you don't pass the certain option.
Yeah. It looks like we do have like something left behind when we were playing around with this. But we got it. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, so we definitely have some JS issue, but that doesn't matter. Like, that's not a biggie. The good thing is this is working, and with this
escape works.
Yeah, it does. So hitting it once, one more time. Opening the menu, hitting it once, there we go. Hitting it another time. This is just working as expected. So that is the EE test, everybody. Fantastic. Thanks a lot for jumping in here.
Good job.
Really,
this was a good session.
It was a good session.
Even though I missed half of it. I had to put my phone in the kitchen window to get my hotspot to work.
Good stuff, all the good stuff. So let's quickly, before we wrap this up, let's quickly look at the diff and see what we actually changed and maybe some to-dos. So I will just revert this file. I'm joking, Paul. I'll see what I'll be doing with this, but a lot of input on potential optimizations.
So can I share some thoughts about the different approach of having one function that sets up all the listeners versus a function you call every time you need the listener set up? From a testing perspective, having a function you call every time you need the listener set up means we're adding something to all of these different code paths. And as we saw, like, feature testing is really expensive. We don't want to feature test all the code paths. It would be nice to do some sort of assertion on the unit test level that we set up this and we called this function to set this thing up with it. We set this thing up, we called this function, set thing up with it. That would be nice. That need isn't totally there if we have just one function we call set everything up, because from the coverage perspective, like, you've already passed those lines theoretically. Does that make sense?
In unit test, can you just assert that all of the event handlers got set up correctly? Just have one CE and one EE test that does that?
I think we can have one. Yeah, I think we could do that. I like that idea. Rather, yeah, I think that'd be great. Of just asserting that all of these events were set up.
You don't have to actually test the behavior. You just test what you're changing, which is like the registering of the events, and make sure that didn't regress.
Yep. So we can add a I'm pretty sure we can add a spy onto the on I'm pretty sure we can add a spy onto that jQuery on function and then just see. We can either see, what has it been called with to have been called, or we can do something like calls.filter with this, and we can actually just assert, hey, on was called with these values.
Gotcha. But just to get this right, what you're currently speaking about would be an approach where we would call one function from, for example, the setup emoji method.
Yes.
Not the one size fits all thingy, and we would then absolutely get rid of the mapping of the like this thing.
We won't need that array.
Yeah, the enable map and stuff. Like with the solution, we don't care anymore about the enable map.
We don't need that because now that'll naturally happen because we're putting it in the code that's setting that thing up. So
understood.
Which reduces the coupling between these different types of things this largely non-cohesive class is doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what Chad was talking about too, with just testing it out of like, let's just start it and test what this thing's been called with. Technically, like that test isn't coupled to either way we did it. So that's a nice win too. We're not coupled to the implementation.
You can find it before you change it. And jQuery doesn't just, or you can't just introspect what events are set up and like look at the entire list and make sure it has the handlers you want. That's not a thing.
I'm pretty sure you can't, but I don't know.
Let me check one thing. Like I really, the more I think about it, the better I like this approach, because if we are calling the show and hide helper or infected version of this actually from, for example, the setup members function, we will have this alias right at hand. So this kind of, from a logical point of view, this does make more sense. Very last thing I'll be doing is I want to see the GFM autocomplete specs, not for the EA version, and search for this, which gives me 0 results. Awesome.
I still think that refactor belongs in a separate MR though, the event.
Event thing? Maybe.
Like it probably, like it would, yeah, I guess
Not necessary to fix this bug.
Yeah.
Well, either approach, you need either approach. And one approach has more coupling than the other approach. If it's a big cost to do this, we still need to test it too. Like, because we're not going to get full coverage with the feature spec. So I don't think the cost of, it's not a huge refactor. And if we have the, which we need anyways.
Yeah, you know what? I'll time box this and see how it goes.
That's wise. Yeah, don't and feel free to not listen to me.
Will do so. Let's see. I'm a little concerned about, as I just mentioned, like as we are not having any of those tests, or how do I put this? The tests on the right, I consider legacy as well, and they are working and green, and this is fantastic, but I am not so keen on touching them either.
So,
yep.
So setup is called, and setup is what actually later calls all of these ones. So you see how they're calling setup labels true.
So this will be their enabled map.
That's the enabled map that they're passing. But we'd be able to just call just setup and assert all of the events that were created. Do you want to try that out?
Why not?
Exactly. Let's do it. All right. Let's go to the let's go real fast. All right. Let's go to the bottom. We could do this. All right. Let's just create a new describe.
Just like that?
Yeah, it looks great. And we'll call it whatever. Just call it pairing. Boo. Yep. Before each, let's steal the one that was for labels, where they set up a text area and stuff like that.
This is basically, that would be this one, correct?
Yes.
There we
Boom.
go, kinda.
Right. We can get rid of what's data sources? Where did that come from? Oh, are these just URLs? Let's just put an empty object there. Let's just put an empty object there. Yeah. Yep.
Kind of like that. Oh no. Oopsie. Kind of like that.
Yeah, and let's const this, but let's put the text area as something that we'll use outside of this. So maybe we need to create a shared variable for the text area.
I partially understood. Where would that shared variable live?
Outside the before each, we can just do let dollar text area.
Gotcha.
We'll see you, James. And yeah, it's close to time. If you gotta hop off, feel free to hop off. We'll need to do the jQuery selector inside the before each, but we'll just declare it outside.
This will make it a let then.
Yep. Yep. And we'll need to do it after we set up after the autocomplete and before the setup. Yep. And then let's get rid of the second argument to setup, because then we'll use the default where everything gets set up. Awesome. Great. So we set this thing up, and now on the it, we're going to check out. We'll check out what on has been called with. So let's just do expect. Yep, we'll get rid of that, and we'll do something like dollar text area dot on. And I think let's do dot mock dot calls to equal. So we'll see what they're all gonna be actually.
One more time. Dollar text area. Let's see. What was that now?
If you have a mock function, you could do, so text area will do dot on. So we need to mock dot on, but on is the function we're going to check out. Dot on and then dot mock. So we'll need to make a mock out of this, and then dot calls. So we'll get a list of all the calls. And then we'll say to equal, and we'll just put an empty array right now.
Okay, so we still need where we put the mock function in the before each as well.
Yep, but we'll definitely want to do it before the setup.
Does make sense though. So then we would do something like text area dot on,
or just that spy on text area.
What is the syntax like for the spy on?
It's
not really. Just dot spy.
Spy on, yeah. You got to use this global object. Just yep.
Just dot spy on text area on
objects, and then comma, and then the second parameter is the name of the function you're spying. So it's actually be text area comma on.
Like that?
And it's a string. Yeah, it's the name of it.
Gotcha. Okay. But you would usually put this in a var, wouldn't we?
Well, it mutates actually the function, so we could just keep referencing the function like we are in line 904. We can get a value out of it, but
okay. So if we don't need it, then just not do it.
Let's F describe this and run it and see what happens, or only that. Yes.
Yep.
Let's run it. Let's see what happens. This is gonna work first try. It always works like that. I'm joking. It doesn't.
Sister Watson, I'm running. Yeah. Looks good to me.
Oh man. I'm so excited.
I'm not on the M1 yet, just to give you this little more of excitement. Oopsie.
Uh-oh. Fixtures.
Oh no. Like this takes half an hour to create them.
Let's just comment it out. Let's comment it out. We don't need it.
Fair point. Oopsie. Too many bloody lines.
Yeah. But is it referenced anywhere that we'll need to update? We'll just still update.
One more time. That was hard to hear.
Is it referenced anywhere that we need to also comment out?
Hopefully not. Like if I'd say
Looks like up there it is actually, because it'll try to parse the whole function.
where would up there be? That one?
Where is up there is a real question. You scroll up like an inch from your scroll bar. There's a red dot on the scroll bar up a little bit. Yep. Keep going. No, up.
Oh, okay. The next red dot. This one? This red dot?
Line
There we go.
718. There you go.
Yes.
I was trying to find the line number.
That was right, Chad. That was a good way to talk about it. Yeah. That's cool.
But it read something. Given alias dot for each is not a function. Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
But this is set up, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. That's fantastic.
It's not a function because we commented out aliases. So if we go back to 25 and 34, if we uncomment out aliases on 25 and 34. And you scroll down just a little bit. I think sorry, let me be more specific. If we go to where show and helper is used, oh yeah, let's just pass aliases in there. Yeah, we weren't using yeah. That's what we need. It'll still fail because it's not going to equal an empty array, but we'll get the results.
Yeah, what I'm having a little bit of a hard time with is actually thinking about what we are testing here on the right. So we are setting this thing up with the default enabled map. So the next thing to do would be checking if all of these event listeners are set, correct? And then in best, there will be one test, and then in best case, pass this thing one more enabled map with maybe all of the features false, and we'll see. Let me quickly note this because I will not remember this in half an hour.
It's okay. On the MR, I'll link you to this video of like
that's how you do it, idiot.
How come it's not showing me in this MR?
Love it.
But that would be the wisest approach. Like I'm even fine with just one test, but the wisest approach should be if that enable map we pass to is different, and our calls will be different. So that is a wise thing to do.
Okay, awesome.
Did it pass, or like did we get some printout results from the? Oh gosh, it passed. I was expecting it to fail.
Yeah, that's not good. We should have
gotten
one handler.
So we called this.
Was it an ordering thing? Was this file not set up soon enough? Is it like happening at like class initialization or something weird like that?
It's a really good question. Can we set this up earlier. Oh no, we'd want to do it right after the HTML fixture. And line 895 too. 895 needs to be
895. Ah, gotcha. Okay. So just like it
no flipped.
before this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. No, I know what's going on. Go ahead. But
Yeah.
what's going on?
You want to keep it for yourself?
I was afraid of this. If you go to while this is running, if you go to the setup function, yeah.
Okay, still passing. Yeah.
If you go to the setup function,
On the main file, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Line 149. Do you see how we do this input.each? And then we wrap it in the jQuery object.
This thing here.
Yeah. So on
What is going on here?
I mean,
I don't fully understand.
this is jQuery, man. On line 894 on the right hand side, we're just spying on that one jQuery wrapper.
Quick question. Is there a convention I am not getting to just prefix variable names with $? Like, do these represent jQuery objects in there, or what's going on with those?
Yeah,
Not sure I've
jQuery,
seen that
It's a
before.
convention. It's exactly that.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry. One more time. Go ahead.
No, so the spy on isn't the way we want to do this, and and we don't have to dive into it right now because we're out of time, but I'll research how do we want to spy that a jQuery event was set up. We can't just use spy on naively like I was suggesting, because that's just for that one jQuery wrapper. But man, jQuery wrappers are a dime a dozen, and we're wrapping and unwrapping all sorts of things. So we gotta figure out how to get the spy working.
Okay.
I'll do a little bit of research and I'll share it on the front end pairs channel.
Awesome. So looking forward to this so much. Anyhow, this was a lot of progress being made today. Thanks so much for everybody contributing.
Yeah, thanks.
Great stuff.
Thanks for bringing up, Yannick. Thanks for hopping on, Anna and Chad. You guys have a lovely rest of the day, and I will post something about jQuery on front end pair soon.
Looking forward to that. Have a great
I
one.
love
See you soon.
jQuery.
Bye.
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 See ya.